Welcome into another episode of Leafs Talk Forever. As you saw in the intro, Kyle's on the team, but he's not here with us tonight. Just me and Scott. Glad to be with you. We're struggling there in the beginning with some mic issues, so we're definitely glad to be getting this pod done. Big week ahead of us. Big week got past us with the preseason. So without further ado, we'll hand it to Scott to say welcome, and we'll get going.
Welcome.
All right.
I don't know what I was supposed to do with that.
Buddy's still learning. All right, that's cool. So as mentioned in weeks ahead, I'm sorry if you hear a squeaky chair. My chair needs some WD-40. As mentioned in weeks ahead, for the last 4 or 5 episodes, we were with the Hockey Podcast Network. Great place. If you want to join, message us. We'll direct you to the right people. If you have a podcast or looking to start a sports podcast, this, that, the other, they've got the Pigskin podcast. I think they have the Hoops Podcast Network. And then they have, obviously, the Hockey Pod podcast network. Sorry. Sponsorships, DraftKings, Raycon. This week we'll only be hearing from DraftKings, though. And then we've got Sandin signing, preseason injuries, Marner on defense. We'll go over the preseason recap, some battles that we feel or some battles that I wrote down that I noticed or have heard, and then some closing remarks. Also should note that me and Scott haven't actually watched a full preseason game due to busyness for my brother's wedding, or our brother's wedding, as well as we kicked up ball hockey last night for the first time after 2 years, so that being canceled because of COVID. So things are starting to feel a little bit more like normal,
huh? Yeah.
All righty, Scott, man, a few words. All right, so enough of talking. Me talking. Let's hand it to you for some Rasmus Sandin news.
Yeah. So long awaited. I think they've been going at it for what? Well, I mean, since last year, I guess. But Rasmus Sandin finally signed 2 years, 1.4 this year, 1.6 next year, I believe, and then I think he's eligible at 1.6 for his qualifying offer as well. A little bit less than what was reported even a couple weeks ago of what they were negotiating from his and his agent side, at least. So yeah, he falls in line there with the Liljegren, the same setup as Liljegren has, and he can come in and fill a hole of, because there's been a couple injuries on defense, and hopefully earn his place that he should have had the last season in a bit, but we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, Brandon Preedom was actually the lead negotiator on this case for this contract. So if he did get fleeced, there is no BS about how Kyle Dubas gave in, because it was actually not Kyle Dubas.
I can't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was Chris Johnston or one of them, like a beat reporter like Terry Caution or something. But they said that apparently it's from what they were reporting. Sandina's agent called the Leafs after finding out about all the injuries, and that's apparently was a major factor in them deciding that now would be the time to take the contract, because the Leafs kind of need defense and he wants to play. So I guess they if it was Brandon Preedom, they worked out that one deal. But I thought that was interesting, because if those injuries wouldn't have happened, would he then have sat out the year or waited until November to get a contract?
To be honest, he probably would have waited till the first game, because Jake Muzzin would have been hurt after one.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I think they were, from what I understood about the tweets, like it was like a thread. It was like the Jordy Ben and Carl Dahlstrom.
Oh yeah,
like the depth guys. So I don't know. Yeah. Even there's the Muzzin would have been in. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. I don't know. That's what I saw, but I thought that was interesting, because he would have had a spot over those two guys anyway if he would have signed. So I'm not sure why he would wait for them, like an injury or something, to happen before he fully decided that he wants to come back.
Yeah, kind of strange, but not surprised in today's NHL, to be honest. with that being said, there's also one other point that I wanted to point out about the situation. So last night was the first time, I think, in Leafs, potentially Leafs history. Um, well, I mean, maybe not Leafs history, but in the last recent years, that Toronto has played with six left-handed defense. Obviously, they ended the game with four because there's two injuries, and TJ Brodie played the right side. So Victor Mete played in last night's game, Morgan Riley, and Giordano. If you were Sheldon Keefe, I guess it's not really me pointing out, it's more me asking you a question. If you were Sheldon Keefe and Sandin joined, and say in the next week he gets acclimated with the systems again, whatever, would you potentially start, depending on how they played, would you potentially start Victor Mete in game one, or would you just go as Rasmus Sandin based on the situation?
Rasmus Sandin. Like I like Victor Mete. I thought since whenever Montreal, Ottawa, like I liked him as a defenseman. I was kind of hoping that he would have became a little bit more than what he turned out to be. But I would choose Sandin over Mete, even with the current injuries or potential if Riley has to play the offside, which was also reported that he was taking right side reps at practice or whatever. But I feel like you were negotiating for so long, you were worrying that he wasn't going to sign, you were hoping that he would. Reports upon reports upon reports about how you're going to lose him for nothing, yada yada yada. I think it was just a no-brainer to that Sandin would start over Victor Mete, even if it takes him a couple games to. Like they still have a couple of preseason games, but even like regular season games, I feel like that little bit of leeway would be enough. So I feel like Sandin over Mete any day.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, however, I would also say that Sandin is nowhere near NHL ready. Um, like to participate in game one, then obviously Victor Mete. It should also be known because a lot of people, including myself, said this before. They're athletes. They'll turn around. You know, they'll come back. They're in game ready shape, anyways. Well, apparently, according to Elliot Friedman, he said that a couple years ago, maybe last year with Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson, I think it was, and I think it was Quinn Hughes who reached out and said like that made him mad because although they might be in like peak performance based on how other people see them, it's still the NHL and it still takes time to get your game legs and get all that. So I thought it was a little interesting because that's how it was gonna like if I hadn't heard what that interaction between Ellie Friedman and Quinn Hughes, I probably would have came on here and said he's an NHL player, start him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like put him in the lineup. But now I know it's like, if he's not physically there, and I mean, chances are he's probably going to be physically there. However, if he's not, then I would say Victor Mete. However, again, on the other hand, you also don't want to piss him off after bringing him back if he really is. Anyways, nevertheless, I just wanted to
well,
ask you that question.
I feel like that could be a lose-lose though. Like if you don't start him and he gets mad, whatever. But then if he plays the first game and he plays bad, and then they choose to, or and then the second game he doesn't play as well as everybody wants him to, then you have not that you have to sit him, but they could sit him. So either way, I feel like if he doesn't play as well as everybody expects him to, then
That's
I feel
true.
like he's going to be mad either way because he's either going to get sat because he's not playing up to standard, or he's not going to start until he's in better shape and can step into the role that everybody expects him to be in.
That's true. I just think um, I personally do what's best for the team, if you understand what I mean in that terms of that sort. But I do understand how that could potentially piss him off um, in terms of like as you're saying, and how I mentioned before with Victor Mete. Like if Victor Mete is the guy who's ready, like I wouldn't just want to piss him off. Is what I'm saying. Is like in my opinion,
Yeah,
you just wasted how many months? Like, why would you want to? But at the same time, it's like it's the NHL. You're trying to win games. So,
no, yeah,
I just want to mention this quick because we touched on it last week, but last week was a brutal episode.
yeah.
Um, we felt it was probably one of the worst that we've done, if not the worst since the first one that we did. Um, so we have this new feature where we we're trying to push YouTube and all of this other different outlets so we can get views and make money and all of that kind of fun stuff. So what you'll see is the gray box with our cartoon faces, myself and Scott, because Kyle's not here. When Kyle's here, you'll see him as well. You'll see a Leaf Stock Forever, all our social media links, the DraftKings promo, the Raycon promo, and our little logo in the bottom right. This should be what you're seeing on YouTube in the next couple days. I'd imagine we'd be able to push it up tonight or tomorrow. However, should be how it's going to go. We've got little banners all thrown up here.
Just make sure it's the right one this time.
Yeah, I have been. While we were talking earlier just about Rasmus Sandin. Sorry, as you'll see, there's a little ticker. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I've been editing them, making our own in our own little folder, so we can just keep popping them out to get people engaged. Comment your opinions, all this other stuff on social media, whatever. DM us on YouTube. I know there is one guy who wants us to talk about CTE. Is that what it's called? Yeah, that's what it's called. Right? Yeah, CTE on this podcast. So we should be able to talk about it, but I would like to incorporate potentially a guest to come on and talk about it, like whether they've experienced CTE themselves or not. Well, I mean, I guess you wouldn't experience CTE, you wouldn't know, but head injuries themselves, and you know what I mean? I think that'd be cool because we can only touch on what we can read, but I think it would be cool to have some athlete in some capacity, even if it's just a local athlete from our town, to come on and talk about like concussions or this or that. So we're hoping that everything runs smooth and there won't be massive edits or issues, and everything kind of runs and flows smooth so we can push this out. So as mentioned before, Rasmus Sandin signing, we're going to go right into a little preseason action, the injuries that pushed Rasmus Sandin to sign. So some of them will overlap from last week. Scott, you want to touch on the injuries?
Yeah. So last night's game we'll start with because they're most recent. Was Jordy Ben and Carl Dahlstrom, who are both key depth pieces for the Leafs, who were supposed to be the kind of like rotational guys between AHL and NHL. If there was an injury, they'd be called up, or they could potentially make the team right away if they impressed enough. But unfortunately, both of those guys were injured last night, which kind of shorthanded the Leafs, and then now they have to rely on other Sandin coming in and Victor Mete and potentially other guys from the minors to fill those roles that they would have taken. And then prior to that, I think even prior to the first Saturday there where they had the doubleheader, Liljegren, Muzzin, and Engvall all and Tavares were all announced to have kind of nagging injuries that would keep them out. Tavares was minimum 3 weeks, and the other guys were more like a day-to-day, see how it goes until the season starts and then decide.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, Tavares is an oblique injury, which I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened, but from media day, both Jake Muzzin and John Tavares said they had a great offseason. They're super excited to get back. They're super healthy. This, that, the other. They've had the whole time to prepare and be physically in shape, the best shape, and then bam. So it is a question on a lot of podcasts, a lot of social media going on right now. Is it the fact that coaches are being too hard on the players to start? Like they're coming in, it's instant bag skates. Like for example, Sheldon Keefe the other day said you need to play physical. 20 seconds later, stopped the practice, said you need to play more fucking physical, and then made them do laps. Not saying that injured John Tavares, but like when you're doing 20 minutes of back and forth, like laps, and then you're expected to play, you're not used to guys leaning on you yet again, crunching you in the boards, whatever. Then you're playing preseason. Do you think it's too much on some of the bigger players? Like I understand you don't want to have favoritism. I get it. But at the same time, like Tavares, Nylander, Matthews, Marner, they're guaranteed a spot on the team. So like I understand the bag skates and stuff, but don't you think maybe we should see a turn of the century in the NHL where guys aren't playing 15 to 18 to 20 minutes in a preseason when they already have a spot.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the preseason games, I could see it. And obviously, like we've mentioned, we never played professional sports or even amateur sports. We weren't
I'm
lucky
pretty
enough
much
to.
actually an athlete, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. How could I forget? But I feel like the off season training also plays a factor where, especially maybe in the media with Toronto, it's and how much they nag on the players. Obviously, this could be true for other teams. I'm not 100% sure because I don't follow them as in depth as I follow the Leafs, but it just seems like every day there's articles being written about how Tavares needs to step up and Nylander needs to get more physical and Matthews needs to do this and Marner needs to do that and Bunting needs to do this, etc., 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 which only plays in your head. So then you put in more effort in the off season, training, getting ready for the season, and then by the time preseason does roll around, you're already exhausted, right? You've spent so much time in the off season training, practicing, doing whatever to get ready for the preseason, which should be what the preseason is for, to get ready for the season. That by the time the preseason rolls around, you're already potentially have a nagging injury, or you strain something, or you kind of feeling fatigued, and then you also have to incorporate then the practices, the training, and the preseason games into that. I think that plays a big role in these injuries too, because like Tavares and them said going into the media day where they said they were good, but that was only good based on the stuff they've been doing in the offseason, right? Then they incorporated all
Yeah.
the other stuff they have to do for the preseason into already doing the offseason stuff, and then it just became too much. So I feel like, yeah, because in other sports you see like NFL and NBA, and even in a way sometimes the MLB. I think the MLB is the only one that's a little different. It's similar to the NHL, but like the NFL preseason, like if you're like you, if you're the guy on the team, like you don't play as often as the other guys who are trying to make the roster or fight for those spots, right? So I feel like the NHL should try to incorporate that, where especially if players on the level of Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, whatever, like do they really need to play every other game?
So
Like,
that's what I was thinking because historically we've seen that the best players, um, like by week two, I mean, in this case, technically week 2 to week 3, you're going to see of the preseason, you're going to see um, like the best of the best. You know what I mean? You're going to see high level going into the preseason or regular season. You're going to see the best players. You know what I mean? Like things are going to
yeah,
start shaping up. But why would you want Matthews? Like Keefe had Matthews out on Saturday in the second game, apparently, for a whole minute on the penalty kill. I get it. He's in part of team meetings. He needs practice on the penalty. I get it. Preseason is all about systems and all about getting them in shape. But what happens if he got like a shot block to the hand?
well, yeah,
And he's out, and he had to get surgery to replace or repair the situation, and he's out 6 to 8 weeks. That's 2 months of the
yeah,
season. So now you're looking at December, depending maybe January by the time he comes back. So you just lost what 15 to 25 goals,
yeah.
and you're
I feel
right.
like,
Like,
sorry,
pardon me.
go. No,
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 go
go.
here. You go. I
I
was
was just
just
gonna
gonna
say, I
say.
feel like.
Oh, here we go. You go. You
Okay,
go.
you finish your point, then I'll make mine.
Okay, I was just gonna say the last time I got my haircut, I go to Sports Clips in our local town, and obviously I don't know if Sports Clips is in America, but for those in Canada, they play sports on the TV, and it was a preseason game between the Giants and the Jets, and Joe Flacco, I believe that's who the quarterback is, the backup quarterback. He played literally I think 8 snaps in the first quarter, and then that was it. Like that was enough preseason action. Like they didn't want to risk injury. So they just played him. And then Geno Smith, I think, was the backup quarterback or whomever,
No,
Tyrone
Geno Smith
Taylor or
was on
some,
the Seahawks.
whomever the backup quarterback for, I think the Giants was. They played him the whole game. Their number one backup, and then he got crunched, and now he's injured. So it's like maybe you should be limiting these players, such as baseball or football does. Sorry, maybe you should be limiting these players and letting show kind of roster battles. You know,
Yeah,
like Ashton Reese and Goddad. Like you put them on separate lines and you play them both 18 minutes or 15 minutes and you see who actually plays better rather than putting Goddad with Marner and Matthews and putting Zach Ashton Reese with Kyle Clifford and Wayne Simmons. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Um, Before you brought up the Jets Giants situation, which only adds to it, is like that situation with Matthews where they wanted to try him out on the penalty kill. That should be practice.
Yeah,
Like in the first, I don't know how many preseason games they play now. Like what, 10, 8,
I think
7,
8.
somewhere.
I think Toronto plays the most with 8.
So like the first 5 games of the preseason should just be those bottom 6 guys and HL guys who you want to be on the team, all fighting for roster spots. Like like in Toronto's case, like Yarn Krog, Abe Kubel, Austin Reese, Dennis Mulligan, like all those guys should have been, plus the minor league guys. You could throw, I guess, Kerfoot in there if you want because he necessarily doesn't have a defined spot on the roster. He can play up and down. But like the Matthews, the Marners, the Nylanders, Tavares, Riley, the goalie situation, I guess, is a little different because you actually want to see what they can do, especially in Toronto's case where you don't know if they're going to do as well as you hope. But like the big 5, you can maybe throw Bunting in there to make it 6. Like they should have just been only practicing with the team. If you want Matthews to get penalty kill, like not experience, but like a practice or whatever, to just set up that in a practice, set up that in an out of game situation, and then when he comes in the final 3 games where you have more of your defined roster, where there's like 2 or 3 battle spots or spots left to battle for, and the big guys come back in, then you could throw him out there on the penalty kill so he can get used to it. I agree. I don't think that playing them every other preseason game, especially now, like Toronto's never really had a player like Austin Matthews. Even technically, I guess you could argue Mitch Marner. Like, they've had great players, but I feel like those two, by the end of their career in Toronto, could arguably be the 2 greatest Toronto Maple Leafs of all time. And then
yeah,
you're just throwing them out there in random spots in the preseason because you want them to get penalty kill experience or to see if they can do it in those roles where like it's the second preseason game. Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any
yeah.
sense.
And the thing that like you're I agree 200% with, um, in terms of practice and that you should be doing it in practice because you scrimmage in practice. Obviously, you could literally like you have unlimited amounts of training camp that you could do. Like I understand players don't want to be at training camp every day, and there's like off ice sessions and systems to learn and all that kind of stuff. But let's just say you're 4 of 7 days. One of those days could literally just be a I don't know like a mock game, a scrimmage, and then you're Austin Matthews is learning the systems, learning what to do, this, that, the other. Because like as mentioned before, with the injury, the risk of injury, like Toronto Maple Leaf fans already risk enough having Mitch Marner out there as the best penalty killer on the team. Like he plays what a whole minute 10 of a power
Yeah,
of the opponent's power play, like on the penalty kill a night, like per. Like if Toronto had 5 penalties, he's probably like 6 minutes, 5 minutes of penalty kill time. Like he risks so many injuries. He's not afraid to get like blocked like in the lanes and stuff. Do you if you lost him to injury and then you replace his spot with Austin Matthews and then Austin Matthews is now out for whatever 6 8 weeks. Now you lost so many points. Like I get it. It's just like to me to honestly, there's no difference to me putting Austin Matthews with your number one penalty kill unit, subtract him, or sorry, power play unit, subtract Austin Matthews, put him on the penalty kill unit in a scrimmage versus playing like who was Ottawa in game one? Who was Ottawa's penalty kill or power play unit? Like maybe Giroux was out there, maybe DeBrincat was out there, but then it's just like a whole bunch of minor leaguers. You know what I'm trying to say? Is like
yeah,
why would you risk it for guys that could not even make the NHL when you could just put Tavares, Nylander, Marner, Riley, and let's just say Michael Bunting, and then you've got Matthews, Kerfoot, Hall, and Giordano as your penalty kill unit, and you're scrimmaging for 5 minutes. And
yeah,
it's like every time the puck comes out, a new puck comes in. You don't have to race all the way down the ice to get it. It's just constant penalty kill practice. That would to me,
yeah.
and then the coach can stop it and actually direct him on traffic rather than doing it on the bench. Like I don't know. You're right. It should be done during practice.
And like, I mean, yeah, like for the if it's like I mean, not that Cal Youngkroke won't be important to the Leafs, but like Cal Youngkroke, yeah, if you want him on the penalty kill, throw him out there during a preseason game. But if it's a player on the level of Austin Matthews, where he's 60 goals, 100 points, arguably the second best player in the league, arguably the best player in the league, like why would you even take the chance of putting him out there in a situation that didn't really matter, all because you want to see how well he would do on the penalty kill? And I don't know, maybe that was his decision. Maybe he wanted to try that. But even then, like it's still like you should just worry about doing that in practice until later in the preseason when you have more of a defined roster, and then you could throw him out there instead of the second game and risk
Yep,
losing, like you said, 20, potentially 20 goals if he's out for the first 3 months of the year.
I agree. Um, I just logged on our TikTok account to try and like put up the banner, and they changed
Yeah.
TikTok all around. So it gave me some message saying like that I personally posted on TikTok, like my own personal TikTok account, and I went to it. I was like, what the hell? Like I didn't post anything, and then I just got another message on the Lease Talk saying post a video to view what they posted. You're not slick, TikTok. Like the hell? I was like, did someone hack my TikTok? Like, why would you hack some dude who's just got my only two TikTok videos are just making fun of Montreal when Toronto was up 2 or 3-0 in the playoffs, and then they end up losing. Oh man. Anyways, so that kind of goes back to the next point that we have is we'll touch on it quick. Obviously, last night Yarn Croak and Kerfoot were filling in on defense, so now they're what's the word I'm trying to look for? Experimenting with Marner on defense. What'd you say?
I said, I thought you were talking about this. I thought you were talking about something else. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well,
I said
whatever you said
speculating.
sound. Oh, okay. Well, it sounded like you said experimenting. So, anyways, they're experimenting with Toronto on defense. So,
Marner.
what? Oh, yeah. All
Marner?
right. Yep, Marner. All right. Anyways, so Marner apparently they could be using him on the right side, I guess, of Morgan Riley this year, which is ultra a waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess don't get paid the big bucks to decide these things. So I don't even
I
want to
don't
spend
even.
much time on it.
I
Like to
just.
be
I
honest
don't
with
even
you,
understand why.
I guess it's
Like
so if
I
they
get
ever run into a situation where they've
he's good. He's good.
injuries.
He's good defensively. I get that. Like penalty kill role, whatever. But like you could just put Brody, Giordano, Riley, Sandin, Liljegren, and then just have a call up play 7, 8 minutes a game. Like why even worry about putting Mitch Marner on defense when you could just play Morgan Riley and everybody else like an extra 3, 4, 5 minutes a game, and then just have a guy or like a role playing defenseman who just comes in certain situations in the game.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I guess it's for such. I mean, it's weird. It's obviously just a new thought that they have since last night. Um, but I would imagine it's probably because, like, in case they ever lose defense. But at the same time, why wouldn't you put out a rotation of Zach Ashton Reese or Goddard or Abe Kubel or rather than like again, it
Justin,
goes back to. Pardon me.
I forgot about Justin Hall.
Oh yeah, who didn't? Um, it just goes back to the point that we made earlier. It's like you could potentially risk injury for a long term timeline by putting Mitch Marner on defense. Like he's on defense and he's stopping a I don't know, let's just say Shea Theodore slap shot. Bust up his hand, bust up his ankle. What then? Now you're down a defenseman and one of your best players. Like it just seems like I guess they're just trying to be different. I don't know, but it just seems like Sheldon Keefe's come into this training camp with a fire lit under him. Like, oh my gosh, if I don't do well, I'm going to get fired. So let's just try a whole bunch of random things, and hopefully there's a method to the madness. That's what it seems like to me.
It doesn't
This guy's out to
seem like
lunch.
there is, though.
Pardon me?
Yeah. I say it doesn't seem like there's a method.
Oh
It
no,
just seems
definitely not.
like whatever pops into his head, he just wants to try, and I don't really understand.
So quickly, I just
Even
want to. Pardon me.
like they even have Victor Mete. Like even if he plays his offhand for 9 minutes a game, like why even think? Oh, you know what we should do? Put Mitch Marner on defense. Like I don't understand.
Yeah,
Like
I
you have
agree.
you already have 6 NHL defensemen. Plus you have Victor Mete. Plus you have Jake Muzzin and Carl Dahlstrom and Jordy Ben, who will be coming back. So I don't know. I don't know why that's even a thought.
Me either, man. I just got a notification on Facebook here, and it says that apparently I don't believe this at all, but apparently Elliot Freeman on the 32 Thoughts podcast, which I believe I've listened to all of the most recent podcasts that have been out. Anyways, apparently he said that the Leafs will factor McDavid into their long-term plans for Cap.
McDavid?
Toronto was willing to go all out to pursue Connor McDavid.
No, I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. I've literally listened to every single 32 Thoughts podcast since I started working at my current job, which was a year ago, like on the 8th of this month. So that's like all but the summer, and there hasn't been one talk of like he's been talking about how the cap's supposed to be going up, but I never once heard that it was supposed to be McDavid. There's always been that they're expecting the cap to go up to benefit Toronto and Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
All right, so quickly, there's not going to be a betting segment again because Kyle's not here. But however, I do have a little betting story. Sports. Not going to name. It's too late now. But anyways, not going to name the betting site. But I got a free $20 bet. So I threw it down on all the football games last Sunday that were still actively playing, and I needed, I think it was 5 games. 4 of them hit that night on the Sunday night. I accidentally bet on the Giants. Who are they playing?
Cowboys?
Cowboys game on the Monday night football, the primetime game. It was under 39. They hit right on 39, so that got pushed off the betting slip. So $20 could have paid me $466. I ended up winning $236 on a free betting a free bet. So if you use the promo code THPN at DraftKings, you'll get and you sign up, you'll get some other special promos, some other deals. There's lots of different components to the app. There's live betting. You can bet in advance, obviously. I believe there's casino betting, like slots and all that kind of stuff where you put money in, and just be safe with it. In a couple minutes, we'll get a word from our sponsor, which is DraftKings, as I mentioned before. But yeah, there won't be much of a betting segment. I can say this. I'll ask you this, Scott. Tonight, the Miami Dolphins, I think it's the 49ers, who I forget who they play. Is it the 49ers that they play?
I don't know.
Anyways, that game is over under 49. What would you take?
Under.
Under?
Like 49 points total?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd go under that.
Oh, sorry, it's the Bengals.
I think,
Basically, end of the first,
maybe,
and they're already at 10 points.
yeah, I think I'd go under that. I know Miami's 3-0 and with Tyreek Hill and whatever the other wide receiver's name is. I can't remember his name right now. They have a chance to put up some points with if Tua plays. I don't know if he is playing, but I feel like I don't think they're going to get to 49.
Well, I know who you should bet on. Cooper Rush. That guy broke
For
my
the
heart
Cowboys?
the other night. Yeah, broke my heart. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, man, I'm going to do it. I was texting the group chat. Kyle said, don't worry about it. They'll just kick a field goal. Nope. Oh, sorry. He said, don't worry about it. They're just going to run the clock out. Nope. The Giants kicked a field goal. I'm like, Kyle, you even know football?
Yeah.
Kyle doesn't know predictions, though, because this offseason, Scott saw this offseason, we had a prediction where you predicted what would happen in the future based on off-season movement, and he put Evgeny Malkin when we return in Pittsburgh. That night, I think Evgeny Malkin signed a contract with Pittsburgh. So don't listen to Kyle
Yeah,
on any future
yeah,
predictions.
yeah. Especially football, because he picked Kansas City and Indianapolis once. So
Oh, did they? Oh,
yeah,
and he also picked the Bills, didn't he? And didn't the
uh,
Bills lose to Miami?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Did
think
he
he
pick?
did. I think he
I
picked the
think
Bills.
no. I think he picked Miami.
Oh, did he? Okay, well,
Yeah.
I guess he's 1 for 1. We'll give him that. All right. Well, yeah. Let's just get a word from our sponsors now, and then we'll cruise back into. We've got recaps from the preseason games. That segment or that conversation that we just had went way too long, I think, but whatever. We got preseason recap, and then some preseason news / battles that we'll talk about. Oh, write down this promo code. Use it. Win some money. The NFL action is in full swing here at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We're talking touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and win $200 in free bets if they do. If that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Right now, for every leg you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100% with payouts bigger than ever, so why not bet on football? To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped up same game parlays once a day, all season long. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN to get $200 in free bets when you place just a $5 bet on any football game. That code is THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See notes for details. We are back. How would you say? Difficult ad read for some reason. For some reason, when I'm planning on reading, my brain just mushes up. See, mushes up everything. So there are so many mistakes in that. I apologize. All right, so we got the Ottawa doubleheader on Saturday, the 24th of September. Game 1, Toronto won 4-1. Alex Steves got 2 goals. One was an empty netter. Our main man, Justin Hall, J-Dog, got 1, and Dennis Mulligan had the other. Notable player of this game that everyone seemed to be talking about was Mark Giordano. He had 3 points. And then I'll take the second game here. Toronto, Ottawa again at 7:30. Toronto lost 4-2. Calle Yarncroke had 2, almost a third when they pulled their goalie. He hit the post / crossbar. And he would add a hat trick. I think there was one play when Austin Matthews dished them a puck from the high slot, like right at the hash marks, and he beamed it over the goalie's shoulder, top shelf. So he's looking in tip-top form, which I'm excited about. Scott, you want to take the Montreal game?
Yeah. So the Montreal game, which happened last night,
Yeah.
Toronto won 3-0. Dennis Mulligan, Nick Robertson, and Aberjeezy had the goals.
Oh, okay, Gordon Miller.
And the Aberjeezy goal was set up, at least from what we heard when we were driving home from ball hockey there, from Joe Bowen. A nice assist from William Nylander.
Yeah, so from what I heard about that one, because obviously I mentioned we didn't watch it, was actually meant for Joey Anderson. But I guess
The pass.
Joey Anderson missed it or it got deflected. I'm hoping to
It was
watch. I know there's one on tomorrow night. I'm hoping to watch that. They play Ottawa again.
It was hard to tell on the radio because it was just kind of in the middle of Joe Bowen and the other announcer telling stories about the 72 Summit
Oh
Series.
yeah.
And then Joe Bowen just stopped his story, yelled out, "Nice feed from Nylander," yada yada yada, and then just went right back to his story. So he didn't
Holy
mention
Milkina.
that it was. Yeah, he didn't mention it was supposed to go to Anderson or not. He just said Nylander with a nice pass, Aberjeezy scores or whatever.
Why when I said Holy Milkina, did you just pause for a second and then
Because I have
secretly
no
shake
idea what
your
you're
head?
talking about.
Because remember Toronto is sponsored by Milk?
Yeah. So why'd you say
Remember
Holy
I said
Milk?
on the radio the other week, someone said that it would be funny if Joe Bowen switched from Holy Mackinac to Holy Milkinaw, and I said that to you guys
Oh,
2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, and you guys said that's terrible. I'm gonna
oh
get you
yeah,
guys
yeah,
to
yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah. Okay, now I
Got
remember.
milk?
Yeah. Nope.
You wish. Um, yeah. So Dennis Morgan seems to be uh, the man who's going to be making the team here. It appears. I mean, it sucks. It really sucks that we. I mean, it doesn't suck on the Saturday our brother got married, but it sucks that we can't get a live stream going when we go to ball hockey and stuff because it would be sweet to watch that while we're taking breaks. I mean, I
Yeah.
tried, but then every time I got set up on my phone, someone would sub off, so that kind of sucks. But it's just like it's difficult, especially in preseason, because some people say the games don't matter. I actually say this all the time. It's like, whatever. But at the same time, it's nice to know kind of where players are, because everyone, like Pontus Holmberg, for example, everyone's super high on him, but it's like I physically haven't watched one game with him in it for the Leafs.
Yeah.
It would be nice to actually sit down. So I think I'm going to sit down tomorrow night. I'm just going to bust down that game, watch the whole thing, and see who I like. I hope that some of these players play because there is some things that we're going to talk about here in a second that seem to be very exciting in terms of being a Leafs fan and future.
Yeah.
So
It's
let's bring her right in with the. Pardon me.
it's always annoyed me when people say the games don't matter. Like the outcome doesn't matter, but the game itself actually matters because there's a whole bunch of players fighting for roster spots that right. So like when people
Yeah,
say preseason games don't matter, like I get that they're technically talking about the outcome, but like because the games technically do matter to the players playing in them, they just don't have a record or like the outcome doesn't affect anything.
yeah, it's true. I said this last night actually. I said this to my girlfriend. I was like, yeah, I don't care really. Like I care, but it's like, the game doesn't matter. Like I was happy that I went to ball hockey, but then after I was like, would have been nice to see it because I mean, even with four defense, they still whooped Montreal's behind. So future's not looking bright for Montreal, huh?
Yeah, Slavkovsky, who
Yeah. How about
I don't even think he
Yarncroke?
played last night. So.
Yeah, I don't. I think he's actually only played one preseason game. If I think Shane Wright played last night or 2 nights ago.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, heard he's still shaking his head over Logan Cool again. Picked before him.
oh yeah, still giving the death stare to Montreal's draft table.
Yeah, he's like the guy from Steve Buscemi from what is it, Billy Madison? When he apologizes and he like takes his
Oh yeah,
lipstick and he like circles the name.
yeah, Billy Madison. Yeah,
That's Shane
and he
Wright.
calls him to apologize.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's definitely Shane Wright esque. Um, So yeah, Pontus Holmberg seemed to impress quite a bit. Has seemed to impress. Interesting fact about him: he's from so north of Sweden. Like in Sweden, he's so far north in Sweden that he doesn't actually understand English at all. I guess if you go
really?
really, really north, yeah, in Sweden, they don't speak English at all. Like main parts of Sweden do, Stockholm, this, that, the other. But he's from such like like the top of Sweden. I don't even know what city, what country, or what the city name is, what province or whatever they call state, whatever. If anyone can help us out, that'd be cool. However, yeah, he doesn't understand any English. So what
I
are you
didn't know that.
laughing at?
How's you just struggling?
I didn't know if it was like in America they call them states, in Canada they call them provinces. What do they
Yeah,
call them in Europe?
I, I think each country has its own thing. I don't know if Sweden has that.
Well,
Like
regardless, the
I
city that
don't
he's from,
know if they have. Um, so he just has what a translator then that follows him around.
I have no idea. I'm gonna assume that he doesn't need a translator, seeing how there's some Swedish players on the team. But like I don't even know what I know this might sound dumb, but what type of Swedish he speaks because apparently there's numerous different variations of Swedish.
Yeah, I think whoever told you that is lying to you.
What?
Because the city he's from, it says it's like Vesteris, which is just near Stockholm, which is at the south part of Sweden.
Okay, well, literally every person I've ever taught or heard talk about this guy
Yeah.
says that he's from the northern part of Sweden.
Hmm. That's weird. I don't know. Yeah, because it says he's from Vesteris or whatever, and then if you look up on the map, it's like 100. It says it's 100 kilometers west of Stockholm, which is in the southern part of Sweden.
Yeah, literally is. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what kind of fibs these people are saying. However, allegedly he doesn't understand English, and they say it's because he's from the northern part of Sweden, but obviously that isn't true. Excuse me.
Hmm. I mean, if that is true and just the information we are looking at now is wrong, that's still interesting. That there's regions
Yeah,
of Sweden that, I mean, not that English would be important to them because they're Swedish, but the main parts of most European countries, I think, are have some English speaking people. So
just looking it up. Although more than 80% of people in Sweden speak English. Yeah, so I have no idea if that's actually accurate, so I probably shouldn't have said that because that just makes us look dumb. However, hey, blame it
us.
on David Alter. Hey, I
Oh,
said
on
us as a
Twitter.
podcast, buddy. No, on his podcast.
Oh,
He was,
oh,
he
maybe he
was,
got bad information.
yeah, I'm pretty sure Jeff Merrick said it too. So,
Or it could be the situation where because the city's so far north, no one really knows. You know, like how what's his name, Steve Thomas was actually from England or something, but or William Nylander, like he's actually
oh
Canadian,
yeah,
but says he's from Sweden. So maybe he actually is from a city that's farther north, but he just lists the city that he's like built out of,
yeah,
or that
true.
people say he's from as that one, so it's easier.
Well, you know what's actually hilarious is he could have been, excuse me, sorry about that. He could have been born in his Visteris place or whatever, and actually just lived most of his
Yeah,
life northern.
yeah, that's what I
Did you
mean when
just
I
say
yeah.
that? Okay.
But no, I didn't say that exactly, but that's along the same lines of what I was saying. Yeah, like
Because
he grew
like
up in the area but was born in somewhere else.
I can't believe this, but people actually think William Nylander is from Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah, because
Why?
apparently, well, he was born in Calgary.
Yeah.
He spent most of his summers in Sweden, but there's a stretch where Michael Nylander played for Chicago, and he played junior hockey in Chicago with Nate Schmaltz and someone else on his line, Christian Dvorak, I think. So apparently, people think that he's Swedish. American people think that he's Swedish. I've listened to
He is.
numerous people on American podcasts. Sorry, I meant from Chicago. I've listened to numerous people from. You got me all confused. I've listened to numerous people from the United States on podcasts say that William Nylander is billed out of Chicago. However, he's not. He's billed out of Sweden, and I believe the second country that he nationality that he talks about is Canadian.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm gonna have to meet him and talk to him. Yeah, Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov, 40 minutes played each, 16 saves, no goals. What do you think about that?
I mean, take it with a grain of salt because it is preseason, so they're not playing always the best competition. And probably by next game they could keep going at this level, but I don't think that they will. Like it's a good start for them, obviously, because of the uncertainty of them playing based on the last year and Matt Murray's last couple seasons. But like if you argue that players playing well, unless they're like guys fighting for last line spots or whatever, if you argue that the preseason doesn't really matter, then you can't really be throwing that Matt Murray and Samsonov are having great preseasons around because we already know they're going to be the goalies. So you just have to make sure that you're doing that in the season and not in the preseason only.
Yeah, I still think that Samsonov's going to get most of the workload. Like, not, I mean, I shouldn't say most, I should say more of the workload. I'm not going to say that he's going to get most because it's probably going to be a relatively split down the middle. However, Eric Shalgren played really well last night as well. Apparently, he's been moving well, sees the angles well, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, he's a good third string to have, and with the injuries on Matt Murray, it's good to have someone who can step in and kind of be a backup.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about Matt Murray potentially being the LTIR space. Well, some people have
Yeah.
been talking about it on sports radio. They think that there could be a chance that Tavares' contract goes on LTIR, depending on how long he's going to be hurt. Because like 3 weeks is a good portion of the preseason, right? So if that actually gets extended and he's out long term, that would provide Toronto a lot of cap space. Obviously,
Yeah,
right?
I don't see him being out that long though.
Yeah, me either.
I,
However,
I
it would be not nice for Toronto because we need him. But I mean, this was before the Rasmus Sandin, but Brent Freedom's definitely going to need to balance the books close because they're in a bind.
yeah, I don't see him going long term though. But they definitely need to do something. At this point, I don't know what it is. Is there an echo?
There's no echo.
Oh, okay. It sounded like there was an echo. I don't know what it is at this point. Obviously, with Muzzin and Liljegren and Bannon and Dahlstrom out, obviously Justin Hall's needed if that was the move they were looking to make. And if Muzzin doesn't play preseason and Liljegren comes back 2 weeks into the season, then you can't really move Justin Hall right now, or you can't move Kerfoot or whatever to clear that cap space. So I don't really know what the plan is to clear that room because when everybody comes back, they're definitely going to need to move someone.
Yeah. I'm just going to name off the players that we have listed, and then after we'll talk about a couple things. So Pontus Holmberg has been the one that people have deemed impressed the most. And then we've got Des Malgin, who, as mentioned before, looks to be the one who's going to make the team on that open roster spot for the Ingval / second line forward that we're missing. And he's got some good chemistry with William Nylander, so it makes sense. Which kind of it's interesting because William Nylander, Des Malgin, and Pontus Holmberg all seems to have really good chemistry with each other. So, I mean, not down the road, but there could be a chance where those three players see a little bit of ice time this year if Holmberg gets called up. Malgin will probably end up seeing a decent amount of ice time with the Leafs. Which one thing that people have noticed is he's improved his two-way game drastically. He's better defensively than he was when he came here. So that's kind of an added bonus because he could end up slotting into that third line and play a little defensive hockey. Nick Robertson again seems to be on the outside looking in. Toronto gave him specific adjustments that he needs to make to his game. And yet every time that he's put on a Toronto Maple Leaf jersey, he plays the exact same way. He forces the game. He forces the puck to try and come to him. He's always looking shoot first, pass later, which is cool and all, sure. But at some point when the team is telling you basically you're one-dimensional and you need to change things, and then other people are beating you in the depth chart, you might want to look at yourself and change things. Like it just seems like common sense now. Like I have a feeling I know what's going to happen. He's going to get sent down. He's going to ask for a trade.
Yeah,
Which
probably.
furthering that point, Buffalo reached out to Dallas apparently yesterday, to talk about Jason Robertson and what the price point would be because they can't afford to sign him longer than like $6 million for 3 years. That's what apparently they want to give him, and he wants eight times 9 or something like that. So I could see a world where Buffalo could not. It's not necessarily possible, but I could see a world where Buffalo tries to take a pitch on both them, tries to get Jason Robertson, logs him up, gets Nick Robertson. Toronto could probably get something back, whether it be a depth player or depth player and picks. Obviously, they're going to get something. It just kind of sucks because the reason why they picked Robertson over Dennis Malgin in the bubble was because Robertson was like shelling goalies in the OHL. And since then, he hasn't changed anything. He's just been trying to shell goalies. Tried to shell goalies in the AHL. He's trying to destroy them, which, like, he's trying to put 10 shots on a game, like on a goalie. And he did that in apparently Traverse City. And he got beat out by Nick Abruzzese as the best player in the tournament. Uh, I mean, take that as you want because Nick Abruzzese is not a bad hockey player by any means, but it just sucks because there's so much potential behind this guy. And now it seems like it's just another one of those players that Toronto has had in their organization that we either rushed or the media hyped too much. And now we're going to see the downfall to him, which, again, like, no one wants to see that because there's a spot open right on the second line for him. You know what I mean? Like, it's right there. All you need to do is wake up, see what that the team's telling you to do, and just try it. But apparently, they're like, not that he's not trying, but he still reverts back to the same old Nick Robertson. So hopefully they get that switch, or he gets that figured out soon. And as we mentioned before, the Matt Robertson, the Matt Murray and the Ilya Samsonov battle is kind of unique because they both played 40 minutes, 16 saves each, never haven't allowed a goal thus far. You got to think though they're battling for the number one position. They're battling for job security. They're battling to see another day in the NHL. Not so much Ilya Samsonov because although he like had offers and stuff, if it doesn't work out, he'll probably just go back to Russia and be like top 3 goaltender in Russia's history. You know what I mean? Like the KHL history. Let's be real. He's not a bad talent. I think you'll see him potentially be the goalie in the future for Toronto. I don't think also Toronto's had a Russian goalie. I couldn't think of one. I could not think of a
Off
Russian
the top
goalie.
of my head, I can't think of one now.
Like, I think I looked back even 10 years, 20 years. Vesta was that 15 years ago? And I couldn't think of one. At Belfort before that, Curtis Joseph, Felix Potvin.
Yeah,
I
I,
couldn't
I
think of
don't.
one.
I don't think they've ever had one.
So he might be the first Russian goalie that Toronto's ever had, which is kind of cool. The next battle is Zach Aston-Reese, Abe Kubel, and Wayne Simmons. So I told you the other day, Scott, that it was Zach Aston-Reese who crushed Josh Norris. It was actually Abe Kubel who did that. And apparently it was from behind. I didn't think it was necessarily that bad, but they're crushing guys. Zach Aston-Reese and Wayne Simmons both had 4 hits the other day. Abe Kubel also had, I think, 3 or 4 hits in the one game that he played. It's like we mentioned this the other week. We're now transitioning from that tough, let's throw down the gloves mentality in the bottom on the last line to like actually like a grit line where they go on and they're crushing guys and they're getting 4 to 6 hits a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it reminds me of, and obviously I wasn't old enough to remember, but from what I hear of, like in '93 with Peter Zezel and all them, where they weren't necessarily, they were tough, but they weren't like Colton or Bob Probert, drop the gloves, punch you in the
Oh
face. They
yeah.
were more dig in the corner or wear you out by controlling the puck and cycling around, kind of thing.
I think it's cool though if we have 2 lines like the bottom 6 is that kind of style. So you've got the Kampf Ingval and Yarncroke or Kerfoot. They come out, they're wearing the offense down, or sorry, they're wearing, well, I guess technically the offense, but they're wearing the top line on the other team down, and then they switch off. The top line stays on for the other team, or even the second line, and then you got say Zach Asher-Reese, God Dead, and Abe Kubel, and they're just going out crushing. You know, like
Yeah,
within a span of 2-3 minutes, that line is now worn down, and then you've got Toronto to play your top lines against. I mean, that would only work in a matchup favored when you get last change. But it's just kind of nice, I think, rather than transition to like a guy gets hit and you're just like, oh, don't worry, Wayne Simmons will get him. To a guy gets hit, well, maybe Ashton Reese will take a run at another guy and crush him.
hmm yeah,
And to speak about Gaudette, I told you this today. There's a rumor out there that when he signed with Toronto, he got signed kind of like a unique situation like Michael Bunting, where he got signed into a role with Toronto, but that role is expanding. Like that was the premise of the contract. It's like there's a chance for you to play up the lineup and there's a chance for you to play down the lineup, and we need you to do both similar to Michael Bunting. He did that last year a little bit. He played obviously a duration of the season, 90%, 80%, 85% with Matthews and Marner. But there's a chance that Gaudette you might see him with Tavares and Nylander come like when Tavares is back. How did you feel about that?
Uh, I mean, I don't. Obviously, you can't really tell, right? Like last year when they did it with Michael Bunting, and they announced like he has potential to move up and down the lineup, whatever. And you're like, why would you want him to? And then he started playing, and it worked out. Like they put him with Matthews and Marner, and he was working out, and he was producing whatever, and kind of took the spot from Nick Ritchie. But I don't see it working out twice. I feel like Adam Gaudette. It was Adam Gaudette, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he's going to to follow the same path as Michael Bunting, and he'll just continue to play on that bottom six, potentially just last line. I don't see him moving up to a top six second line role, putting up 40, 50 points. I see him more as the last line guy for most of the season.
Well, it's kind of interesting though because like coming into last year, we thought Nick Ritchie was going to be Michael Bunting,
Well,
and
yeah,
then
that's
Michael
yeah.
Bunting was the Michael Bunting. So relating that to this year, there's potentially Zach Aston-Reese if he signs a contract. Hopefully he does. There's Abe Kubel. There's Dennis Mulligan. There's potentially Nick Robertson. Potentially Pontus Holmberg. You know, like there's and Alex Steves is another guy. Like you've got 5, 6 guys who could actually end up taking that role. Like it typically for Toronto, I find the one guy that they press is going to be that one dude on the team that comes in, scores 40 points, has 200 hits, you know, a presence up and down the lineup, in the locker room, this, that, the other, a big guy. I mean, not that Goddard is big, but you know what I'm talking about. That one player that they always talk about getting.
Hmm.
It always seems to be some complete opposite guy to that, like Michael Bunting. So I guess there's some comparables in their game with they're a little bit chirpy. They're smaller guys. They've got skill. Kind of overlooks their whole career. However, I do see that not being Goddard. I think it's probably going to be my pick. I think it would probably be Abe Kubel or Dennis Mulligan. That's going to be that
Then
one guy that we shock or not super shocked by, but
you also got to like who's gonna bump down though, right? Because like you still have Kerfoot, Yarncroke, Engvall, and Camp. So if Gaudette moves up, are you bumping Camp down? Are you bumping Engvall down? Are you shifting Yarncroke down?
yeah,
Are
that's
you
another thing. Like right now, the way that they're slotted, they've got Matthews, Tavares, Camp slash Kerfoot, and then Camp slash Gaudette on their down their middle of the lineup. But like Gaudette, their thing about using slash center and winger. Kerfoot and Yarncroke are both center slash wingers, so it's like I don't know how they're gonna shape up. Is Camp now moving down to the last line and being on that defensive minded line, or is he gonna be that third spot with Kerfoot, or sorry, Ingval, him, Kerfoot, him, Ingval, or Yarncroke? Like I have no idea. But it's said that Dennis Mulligan's gonna take Ingval's spot and potentially take the top 6 spot. So when Ingval comes back, who's gone?
well, if Morgan can come in and play well, which all indication in preseason so far is that he might just do that, then I feel like Kerfoot, Engvall, Yarncroke is your second or third line, and David Camp bumps down, and then Autumn Gaudette is the odd man out. Because
So then in that
whether
case, it
it's
would be who?
Kerfoot,
Ashton Reese, Camp, and
Abe
Baker Bell.
Kubel, yeah, and then Yarncroke, depending on whoever they want, I guess you could alternate sides based on hand because both Kerfoot and Yarncroke can play center.
Yeah, and they're opposite hands.
But
Yeah.
but but then you also, if Adam Gaudette impresses, like, are you sitting Austin Reese? Are you sitting Abe Kubel? Are you sitting Engvall? I don't see them
That
sitting Kerfoot unless they
that's
trade
the
him,
other thing.
and I
Is
don't
like
see them sitting Yarncroke.
Ashton Reese was signed to replace Kerfoot or Ingval because Ingval's injured. So like how long? Like Kyle said, what 2 weeks he was supposed to be injured for?
Yeah, I think
I'm
something like
starting to
that.
think that maybe what?
I said, yeah, I think it was 2 weeks, something like that.
Like, I'm starting to think that maybe they could see him out being out long term because like, I don't know. It just seems like they'd invite a guy to a PTO. They're probably end up going to sign him because he fits the role that they want, which is good because you got depth. But it's like okay, so they can do a rotation with every night or every couple of nights they rotate players. But like, do they have a cap for that? Probably not.
No.
So it's like I don't know. I just I'm at a loss of what the lineup's actually going to look like.
Yeah, I think right now Morgan is the odd man out, even if though he is impressing. And
Malgin, I don't think so.
I do, because you have Matthews, Marner, Bunting, Kerfoot, Nylander, Tavares. Although Tavares is hurt, I know, but Yarncroke, Engvall, Kampf, and then Gaudette, Abe Kubel, and Austin Reese.
Yeah, but Austin Reese technically isn't signed to a contract.
Yeah, but I mean, true, but like I feel like they're going to give him a contract.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, like technically, like if you're right, he probably is going to get one. But I mean, like truthfully, you could just put. Um, I mean, I would want him on the team, but if Ingval's or sorry, Morgan's playing that well, and you could do a Ingval, um, Kerfoot, Yarncrook, say third line, like I would probably sit Gaudette.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. That was my point. Is right now Malgin is impressing, but who's to say by the end of preseason he's still playing like that, right?
Yeah, that's true. I feel like just how they've
I
talked
feel like
about him is
right.
like
Well, yeah,
Dennis
right now
Malgin's
he's
going to
winning
make the
a
team.
yeah, yeah. Right now he's winning this spot, but that doesn't mean he's gonna still have a spot by the time the season actually starts, right? Whereas
Yeah,
all the
and I
other
mean,
guys
like
on the
it's a
team,
little
I feel
bit
like
easier with Tavares down.
maybe not Gaudette, but I feel like all the other guys are pretty much a lock to make the team.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like obviously, yeah, it's easier because Tavares is out, so that pushes Ingval or Kerfoot up with Malgin and say
Mm-hmm.
William Nylander, and then you got Yarncroke with Kampf and Ingval and Gaudette, Abe Kubel, and say who am I missing? Ashton Reese. But at the same time, it's like I just don't know. I feel like just how the coaching staff and the media and everything has talked about Dennis Malgin, it seems like they really want him on the team. So I'm at a loss of what this is going to look like, and it's weird because you can say wait till the last preseason game, but if Gaudette's in the last preseason game and Malgin played the second last preseason game, like that could be a change that they can make before the regular season. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like I don't actually know when to tell people or when to actually start looking at things and be like, okay, we're getting serious now.
yeah. I feel like if Morgan makes the team, then Gaudette's going to be the odd man out. I feel like
But
even
like,
though Austin Reese is on a PTO, I think they're going to sign him, and I feel like Gaudette will be that extra that they'll have to call up for the minors whenever they can. But I just have a
I
feeling
hope
right now that Morgan isn't going to continue on the pace or the level of play he's going at, and everybody's going to hop back off the bandwagon, and then he'll be the odd man out. That's just a feeling I have.
I hope for Toronto's case that they can work it in the cap to have like an extra forward on their team.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do that though, because they're
I have no
already
idea.
unless they put someone on LTIR, but then they won't have that extra. But as of right now, they're if Tavares is on the team and Muzzin and all them, they're like what 2.6 over or something with Sandin's new contract.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't go off cap friendly because cap friendly has people on the team that aren't on the team
Well,
listed.
no, true, but
Like Wayne
even if
Simmons is
you
probably
take
not going to make it. Kyle
yeah,
Clifford probably not going to make it.
but
Nick
but that's
Robertson.
still only like what 1.7. So they'll still be just under a
Well,
million over.
together, if you had all those three players coming off, that'd be like 2.2.
Wait, who's the other
Because
guy?
Kerfoot, or sorry, Clifford, Simmons, and Robertson all on the
Oh
NHL
yeah,
cap right now. Which I don't know how cap friendly works though, because like they could be listed on their cap, but cap friendly could not use their cap hits. You know what I mean? Because they're
yeah,
technically could be sent to the minors. But I know Kyle or Wayne Simmons will probably have to clear waivers, which he could. I don't know
yeah.
the chances of that. I have no idea. But it's like I don't see a world where Toronto has Wayne Simmons on their last line And if they do, it's like, okay, obviously he's playing 5 minutes a game. But in my opinion, it's time to get rid of that. It's time to get rid of
Yeah, I
someone
think
playing 5 minutes a game. I think you should be playing 18 or 19, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 13 minutes, 11 minutes. Like you should be kind of switching, like spreading out the minutes a little bit so then you're not dog tired by the end of the season. And there's still time.
yeah,
Like people are saying there's not time for then there's no time for Austin Matthews to score. Like if he's not playing 20 minutes or he is playing 20 minutes, let's just say in the perfect world, you've had 2 power plays and 2 penalty kills. Austin Matthews is going to play at least 2 minutes of those penalty kills. Sometimes, depending on the situation of the game, he might play the whole 2 minute power play. Sorry, he might play 2 minutes of those power plays, and then depending on the time in the game where you get the power play, he might play the full 2 minutes of one of them.
yeah,
Mitch Marner's probably playing 2 minutes of the penalty kill plus power play minutes. So there's a time where you could be smart about it and maybe not shift Matthews and Marner together one shift and put Zach Aston-Reese or Abe Kubel or whomever on that line with them. There's
yeah,
lots of minutes to be spread, but I have a feeling that they're going to still revert back to the Matthews going to get 22, 23 minutes a game. Tavares is probably going to come in around 18, 19. And then you're looking at a 9 to 11 minutes for Camp's line and then a 2-minute game for, like I just
yeah.
hope that they actually switch it up and be smart about shifting. And then defense, I mean, I don't I don't really have too much to say about a shift. However, I guess you'd like.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know exactly the numbers, but obviously Matthews will get the around 20 minutes a game, and Marner, Bunting maybe not. I think maybe at times they'll sub other players in on that, like to give Nylander or Tavares or whatever a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the last line needs to play a little bit more than 5 minutes a game, especially if they're going to be that in your face, gritty body check instead of just the try to punch you in the face line. And
And
like,
that's
no offense to Spezza, but like he was older, right? So
yeah. To
him,
be honest, though,
him,
like I think Spezza on a line with Abe Kubel and Zach Aston-Reese, like I would still like. I no offense to Adam Gaudette, he could be a really good player, and in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, we could be like, let's go Adam Gaudette. But I would still like Jason Spezza on this team one more time,
no, yeah.
personally.
No, that's not. I meant like it was easier to shift him only 5 minutes because
Yeah,
of the age, as opposed to like Abe Kubel or Austin Reese, who are going to want to play 8, 9 or more minutes a game or whatever, right?
yeah. No, I wasn't saying that you weren't saying that. I was just meaning like I would personally like Jason Spezza back on this team one more time, even if it is just 5 minutes. I feel bad for the guy. Took all those discounts, had all those great speeches, basically became Prime Minister of Canada, and then that's it.
I wouldn't
You
say
know,
Prime Minister of Canada.
nah, pretty much Jason Spence is a well-liked dude. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Many people may not know this. I don't know if I've ever talked about it, but I pretty much want to. When I go to a game to scout, I pretty much want to be Jason Spezza. That one game, what was it, the World Juniors when he was just going through
Oh
his
yeah.
notes. That's what I want to.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna close this one off. Are you good?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we've went a little longer than what we're trying to go for an hour each Thursday. Um, Hour seems like a good time. You can fit it on a lunch break.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't forget to rate and review. We haven't had a rating or a review posted, so get to it. See the little ticker on the bottom? Just do it. Go to it.
Yeah.
Go to our any social media or sorry any platform that you get a podcast from. I probably think that we're on it. Subscribe, download, rate, review. Go to DraftKings, put in our promo code. Let's hit it. And lastly, obviously, as you can see at the bottom, we also don't get a lot of DMs or feedback, and we need to get feedback because we need to see what works. Without feedback, without a rate or review, without a subscription or you subscribing or listening, there's no point in us doing a podcast because we're just talking in the open air. So let's get some opinions on what you think we should do and not do, and all those kind of cool things. And yeah, DM us, hit us up on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I think on our website we've got our email. So go check that out because we'll tell you a little story. The other day I was at a person's house at work, and I showed him the website. That was my go-to. We were talking about website building and stuff, and I showed him, and he said it was a good website. Like he said I did a good job. So I want to hear from you guys to see because your guys' opinion matters more than just some customer that I worked for at his house. Alrighty, on that note, have a good night. Subscribe, like, comment, and let's get a go Leafs go in the ending here. Go Leafs go. Go Leafs go. Go Leafs go. Scott?
No.
Nah, okay. Too bad Kyle wasn't there. All right,
Why? So
have a good night, everyone.
he could sing "Eye of the Tiger" or something.
I will. Rising up, back on the streets. Took my time, took my chance. I think I messed up the words.